On my Gardner multiple intelligence test, I scored pretty close on all of the categories. I scored between like a 20, oh my gosh, I almost said 2025. 25 and 2029, so it's pretty close. But my top two were logical mathematics, I scored a 29, and interpersonal intelligence, I scored a 28. So for number one, how I would make my lesson plans and my classroom environment go along with my intelligence. I like puzzles. I like doing a lot of math puzzles like Sudoku or Sudoku, however you say it, and also like word puzzles. I mean, when I was in high school, I did a lot of these. I liked doing the little coloring ones, and it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. And then in my classroom, for my interpersonal intelligence, I would have my students work with each other. I know a lot of students don't enjoy doing that. I'm aware. But I do think that it's important for people to learn about how other people understand things and other people's viewpoints. And it's good to learn from each other and how other people know things. So I think that's important. And then for where I lack in intelligence, I did score between 3. I don't know if that means I'm lacking a lot or not, but it's okay. My 3 were bodily kinesthetic, spatial visual, and intrapersonal. So to go with bodily kinesthetic, how I would make sure I'm helping those students, I would use stations in my classroom. I know that when I was in high school, I did this a lot in like math, where we would put posters, or my teacher would put posters on the wall, and then we'd walk around and solve the different math problems. And so I think that would be helpful for those students. For spatial visuals learners, I would do graphic organizers with my students and make sure to show patterns and how things relate. And for my intrapersonal students, it's important to do, I think personally, reflection journals and having my students be honest with themselves and with me is more important than testing all students, because I personally have a lot of test anxiety. And so I would much rather read a student's reflection on how they're doing to learn where I need to help rather than testing them. So I think a reflection would be good. And also, to go along with earlier where I said I would have my students work together, I would also make sure I gave my students enough independent time so that they could independently work on things and start figuring things out for themselves. And then lastly, why I think it's important to learn about all of these. I don't want my lesson plans to just be for most of my students. I want them to be for all of my students. And so learning stuff like this and learning all about all of the different learning, like different ways people learn, and making sure I am like doing things to serve each of these categories is important to make sure that my students, all of my students, are learning and not just most of my students, which is very important to me. So yeah.